Welcome to the third-party Transformer News for Retro Robot Radio for the date of May 30th, 2015. Badcube released test shot images of their versions of the Insecticons. These are going to be masterpiece scale versions of the Insecticons and will be coming in a 3-pack. BMOG Toys have released this image of their Chainbill Splatterpuss figure, who will be going into production with Non-Nef Productions. And according to their latest information, this will come with stickers from Repro Labels, which is a big improvement over the stickers that came with the last BMOG toys that came out, which were otherwise wonderful figures, but their stickers were very, very fragile. As you can see, the Chainbill Splatterpuss will break apart into 2 handheld chainsaws and a backpack that also doubles as a gun. Headrobots is back from the grave. Yes, after having been disappeared for quite some time, they announced 2 new projects. The Infinitor upgrade is a handgun and sword for the Toy World Infinitor figure, which is a small articulated version of Fortress Maximus. No word yet as whether or not they'll be also releasing a color version for Grant, but it would seem to make sense. And this will come with some, looks like, labels or a clear tip maybe for the sword, which will look a lot like the original Headmaster's sword. Also, the second Green King kit will be coming out from Headrobots. They mentioned that this kit will be plastic mold injected, unlike the first Green King kit, which was made in resin casts. I'm still looking forward to finding out whether or not they make a version of this for the Cybertron Scorponok figure, which will end up looking like Black Zarek with their upgrades. As you can see, here he is in robot mode, and it's a couple of the chest pieces and the silver pieces on the legs. And here, a new company called Hero Hobby announced a super deformed version of Grimlock, and this is a transforming toy that actually transforms from this silly looking robot to this silly looking robot dinosaur. Personally, I have no real use for super deformed toys, and I'm generally disappointed that someone puts that much work into something that looks so pathetic. But I'm sure if you like this sort of thing, there it is. Mangbody, also known as Machine Boy, released this test shot, unpainted test shot, of their upcoming Astrotrain style figure. The figure is actually called Space Roamer, and he's advertised as being Voyager sized, which is a pretty good idea if you want to match him up with the Generations Voyager Blitzwing figure. Unfortunately, it looks like, at least preliminary information, is that he's a little bit shorter than Blitzwing, which some people were hoping he'd just be about the same height or taller as Blitzwing, but if that doesn't bother you, or if we end up being wrong and he's actually a little bit bigger, that's a good thing. Mastermind Creations has released some renders of their upcoming Culture figure, who's their version of the IDW character of Tarn. You can see here compared to the original artwork for Tarn, and it's a pretty close render of it. Here he is with the alt mode. Not quite as close, but the robot mode's pretty straight on. Mastermind Creation also announced that they're doing their own version of the Masterpiece Insecticons. These are going to be their versions of Shrapnel, Kickback, and Bombshell. And these are also Masterpiece size and based on the Studio Ox designs. Play With This 2 released a teaser just recently after their Kickstarter didn't get funded. but it was very close. They said they would be reorganizing, and this is some of the first new artwork we've seen. This wasn't anything that was teased from the old Kickstarter, and I'm not sure if this is something original or Masters of the Universe inspired. I do hope that it's a weapon for some larger figure, but if it's just a handheld weapon that you can add to your figures and they want to sell it, that'd be cool too. Hope we find out more information about it soon. A new company called Spark Toys released the prototype images of their version of War Within Optimus Prime. According to information, this figure is going to be about the size of the Masterpiece Grimlock figure, and it looks very much like the original War Within Optimus Prime from the Dreamwave comic books. We can only hope that one day a trailer will be on the works as well, as Optimus Prime had a trailer in the War Within comics. You can see the alt mode, which looks a lot like the Fall of Cybertron as well, so if you're a Fall of Cybertron collector, this might be something worth looking at as well. A new company called Transform and Rollout has released some teaser images of their upcoming Masterpiece Jazz figure. This figure is supposed to be similar in size to the Masterpiece Prowl, Blue Streak, and Smokescreen figures. It will have the wings, but they will fold away as onto the back, so you can have a more Dreamwave comic look or a cartoon look to your Jazz. Also, there is the grappling hook that he used once in the animated series, and I'm told there's a possibility that will actually be a spring returning grappling hook, so you can pull it out and then it'll come back to his hand, which is kind of neat. Also, the alternate mode looks like it has the optional big speakers for him to do his lights and sound show. Unique Toys has released some near finished images of their Siegfried figure, who is based on Generation 1 Terracon Hungar. This is a pretty big figure, I'm told, near Masterpiece scale, although it's not exact G1 cartoon or toy model, but kind of their own original take. So whether or not you want to throw that into your Masterpiece collection, that's up to you. Here you can see that some of the chest pieces actually do become a tiny pair of wings, which is a little bit neat. And of course, you can actually mount the gun on his back and make a really big freaking cannon on Hungar, which, you know, two-headed dragon with a giant laser cannon. That's always cool. Here you can see him in his combined mode with the other members of the Unique Toys, not Terracons. Another new company called Voodoo Robots teased a version of Ratchet and Ironhide. Supposedly this will also be about Masterpiece size. A bit bigger than the Masterpiece Prowl and Sideswipe figures, but smaller than the MP10. And will transform from vehicle to robot. Doesn't look like there's going to end up being a sled, which was one of my favorite parts because I had the Diaclone Ironhide back in '83 and loved that bit of it. But I guess you can't have everything. Here's a picture of the Ironhide in robot mode. Warbertron released some color shots of their version of Strafe. Excuse me, this is Lightspeed. Lightspeed is the car from their Not Technobot set, and it looks pretty darn good. You know, I always look at these and think they could have got a little closer to the G1 car. None of them really seem to invoke it to me, but I guess we'll see if Hasbro does anything on them. I'm not interested in these personally because they are like Masterpiece sized. This is be like a Voyager, and that's just too big for cars for me. X-Transbots showed off this image of their upcoming Arcos figure, who's their version of Masterpiece Beachcomber. Obviously, this is a test shot, not in final colors. But some people are saying that it would look really cool if they were to make a couple of variants in other colors, like G2. I think there was even some artwork in the G2 metallic green. And why not do him as Buggyman for a GoBot homage? There's also, you could do him as Jaguar from the Breast Force, you know, in this black color right here, actually. So there's a couple of good options for this figure as repaints down the line. And X-Transbots has been very GoBot friendly. So I say, hey guys, go for Buggyman. As you can see here, it actually holds some of the little Masterpiece. I'm not sure if those are the original Masterpiece or the Dr. Wu's companions, but they do fit in there and can drive Beachcomber, or Arcos as he's called. As a little special this week, I want to talk about a action figure Kickstarter that I saw was currently running. This is called the Morphonauts Magnetic Action Figures and Board Game. The Kickstarter currently is at about 1/3 towards its goal, has about 2.5 weeks left. And the Kickstarter is for some action figures that are interchangeable. They're put together with magnetic joints, so they just click on and click off. And they're selling the figures as well as a board game that you can play the figures as your pieces. So it's kind of a neat little doodad trick here to have a game and some action figures. And you can also have there'll be an app that you can put on the tablets to design figures. And it's a pretty simple Kickstarter as far as pledging goes. Just pick how many of figures you want and then pledge however much, and then you tell them which figures you want. So it's a cute little thing. If you are like these, according to the guy who runs it, the figures were partly inspired by Transformers and other 1980s action figures. I had asked him if they're actually inspired by some of the Micronauts, and he said no, he actually designed them before he realized how close they were to Micronaut designs as well. So if that's the sort of thing you're looking for, you might want to check out the Morphonauts Kickstarter in the next 18 days before it runs out. This week's screen capture is of Tick Tock, the Mechanical Man, from the 1985 film Return to Oz. This week's news brought to you from the pages of tformers.com and TFW 2005. News read by Matthew Ignash. Stop by wikialpha.org to read more about third-party Transformers. Check out the Facebook page of the third-party TF Crashers. And then come on by the Retro Robot Radio YouTube channel and subscribe.